Welcome back to another episode of the Partnernomics Show. I've got a good one lined up for you here today. Adam Kaplan, who's a certified EOS implementer, we have him on the show, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I was able to pull a few things out of here that's definitely had me thinking and just reinforcing some different things. Those folks that have been tuning in to the Partnernomics Show for years know that I geek out on leadership and these different topics and concepts, but Adam introduced me to PQ, positive intelligence, or I'm assuming that's positive quotients like an IQ or an EQ for emotional intelligence, but PQ, positive intelligence. I'm interested in doing some more research. I believe I've heard that term before, but definitely want to dig into that. Another thing that Adam said is that even though he's a coach to dozens of different companies, he also receives coaching, and something that I totally believe in. You look at some of the greatest players, golfers out there, they're the best in the world, but they all have coaches. So I think that's another proof point there that, we can all be, we can all grow, expand, and it's awesome for us to be challenged. And I certainly believe that as well. But it was kind of a rapid fire session. We had lots of different topics that we cover, and Adam did an awesome job of laying it out there for our listeners. So hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Partnernomics Show, where industry thought leaders discuss the hottest topics in partnerships, ecosystems, and innovation.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Partnernomics Show. Great to be with you today. Today we are joined by Adam Kaplan from, was it Royal Oak, Michigan? How are things going, Adam?
It's all good in the great state of Michigan.
So, Adam, what kind of fun hobbies and things do you do up in Michigan? My wife works for General Motors, so I've been in many cities up in Michigan. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love so many things to do up there.
Well, thanks. We are the land of many lakes, not maybe the 10,000 lakes in Minnesota or Wisconsin, but we got lots of them. This summer, we're actually this weekend rather, we're going to be up on a lake. So,
awesome. Fishing, boating, tubing, skiing.
Boating, tubing, swimming, hanging out.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. So Adam is a certified EOS implementer. And as we all know, I love to have different coaches, consultants, implementers, business advisors, all the folks that, tunes into our podcast. They're all about business growth. And so, Adam, certainly appreciate you carving out some time to share some of your insights with us. And I'd love to just kind of chat about, or have you talk about, your background. What was Adam doing before you joined EOS?
Yeah, so I've been in the entrepreneurial world for a long time, highs and lows. Lows, .com crash and burn. High, selling to private equity. And I've been coaching for about 4 years now with EOS.
What was that like to, I know private equity can be kind of a love-hate relationship there. What was that journey like? And what was some of your takeaways from selling to private equity?
Well, as anyone who's sold to private equity or is thinking about selling to private equity knows, the buyer is very demanding. It definitely feels great to get it to the finish line. And, a lot of change comes right after the transaction closes too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Adam, in preparation for, for the podcast we have here, I asked you to, kind of let me know a couple different topics that you want to talk about. And one of those that you've mentioned is, the importance of why. And what your why is. I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan. Start with why, and it really resonates with me. I'd love to dive into this topic a bit and kind of understand your why, and even how you coach, business owners, founders, executives on understanding the importance of why.
Yeah, well, let me start with my why. I like to think of myself as someone who delivers honest coaching with a caring heart. And the honesty comes, and the coaching part comes with, hey, we're not getting coaching because we want to stick with the status quo, but we're doing it because we want to get better. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So, we're looking for that support and someone to hold our hand on our journey. So I think this applies to coaches. This applies to leaders. This applies to visionary CEOs, COOs, anyone really in a leadership role in a business that has the ability to lead and manage others.
Yeah, I'd love to dig into this some more. So, like, what is the connection between a why? You mentioned the word vision. How does the why connect into vision? And then from an executive's perspective, from even like a hiring perspective, obviously a huge believer. I think all of us that are in the coaching space are believers in having employees that are also connected to or kind of see our why, see our vision. But I kind of call that the great accelerator. From your perspective, how does the why connect in with a vision, and then how does that proliferate to employees?
Right. So the vision that we have as a business is why we do what we do, right? Because we've made a choice as entrepreneurs to choose a certain business, or if we're in a family business, we might decide, hey, we want to keep this business going. But there constantly has to be a reflection and an understanding and a clarity about the why, right? Are we out there to change the world? Are we out there to sell this business, make a lot of money? Are we out there to help other people? I have a client whose why is teach 1 million teachers how to teach kids how to read, right? So there's all kinds of kind of big goals, big whys, and we need to get on the same page on that as a leadership team, and then get all our people united behind those whys, because that's a lot of human energy heading in the same direction.
Yeah, makes so much sense. So Adam, I also want to kind of dig into, you'd mentioned status quo earlier. And one of the things that I absolutely love, and I'd say is a prerequisite to work with our teams, is a desire to grow. I mean, you're not good with the status quo. You're wanting to grow, and you're looking for ways to do that. Obviously, our world is in business-to-business partnerships, how we do that. But how do executives know when they're coming upon this, kind of hitting a ceiling, right? We've all heard of these S curves, and we can either stay status quo for a certain period of time, we either decline, or we get this new innovation, this new ramp, this new energy that comes into it. How do companies know when they've kind of stalled out, hit a ceiling?
First of all, I just want to say that hitting the ceiling is normal, right? It happens in every business, and it happens multiple times. So if any of you are listening to this and you are watching this and you've hit a ceiling, I just want to let you know that you're normal. Now, we want to take it beyond that, though. We want to break through the ceiling, right? So how do we break through a ceiling? It depends why we're stuck, right? What's our main issue? We find that often it's a people issue, right? If there's a wrong person in the wrong seat on the leadership team, that could be a reason why we're stuck. We could be stuck because our processes are broken, right? We could be stuck because we're just focused on putting out fires and we don't have a clear vision. And like we said earlier, we haven't aligned people behind the vision. So it's really important to be able to diagnose that, the root cause of it, in order to be able to determine a fix and then break through the ceiling and keep going and keep growing.
So, Adam, how does innovation fit into that? I think, a lot of companies, might think that, well, it's our products, it's our services, it's our solutions. Maybe they've just become stagnant and we need to advance and push them to the next level. How should leaders think about innovation or leverage innovation to kind of put in some new energy?
Right, well, there's all kinds of different innovation. I like the way you say it, new energy. I think that's a good way to look at it, right? What do we have to change here in the business? Sometimes it's because we're running the Mark Brigman system or the Adam Kaplan system, and that's just not working anymore, right? So sometimes the innovation could actually be about bringing in a new system to run your business. But other times it could be looking at new markets, or it could be coming up with a new strategy, or it could be some changes with people. It's very often not technology related. Could be, right? If we're being held back because our business is growing, but our systems are broken, our technology is broken, then yes, there may be a good business case for adding new ERP systems or a new customer relationship CRM system as well.
Yeah, I like how you highlighted that. I mean, I think when a lot of people think of innovation, it's specifically, what do we offer? It's a new product, it's a new service, or it's expanding on that. But really, to me, new is the synonym, and it's just changing, doing something different to give the company some life, some energy, some new direction. Hopefully, that also fuels some passion. So, Adam, I know that EOS, there's lots of different tools in this structured process that I've been a huge fan of from day one. When somebody put the book in my hands, I think it was about 12 years ago. What's one tool that you think every company should leverage or lean into that could make a big impact in their business?
So there's many to choose from, and one that gets talked about less because it's not one of the 5 EOS foundational tools is delegate and elevate. And I would add to that, delegate, elevate, automate, or eliminate really is the tool, right? So in order to grow, every person in the company really should be operating as much as they can in their unique ability, the things they love to do and they're great at, and everything else should be delegated to someone else. And you don't delegate to someone who's not prepared. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying is, let's find those people for whom those things that you're delegating are the things that they love to do, and then let's have them do it. And then eliminate or automate, right? Sometimes we do things that we just don't need to do anymore. Just because we did it before doesn't mean we need to continue. And then, of course, there are more and more options with automation using technology. AI can certainly help in many areas of your business, brainstorming and things of that sort. So definitely a lot of opportunities. So if you on this call take one thing from this call, I encourage you to go to eosworldwide.com and download the Delegate and Elevate tool, or reach out to me and we can talk more about it.
Adam, how do you coach founders or folks that, I mean, it's been their business, it's been their baby, and they continue to grow it up? And I would imagine most of the time, when folks are working with EOS, they have at least a small team. But so many times, even that we see where senior executives are not willing to delegate, not willing to, I think it's, let go of the vine is one of the terms that's used. How do you coach them into that? And then why is it that they wouldn't want to let that go? Because I think this is, I mean, to your point, this is a very, very critical aspect. I mean, that's the definition of scaling, is being able to do that. But I know a lot of executives and entrepreneurs out there, they struggle with this.
They do. And change is scary, right? And we need to acknowledge that. And in fact, we talk about letting go of the vine right there in our first full meeting with our clients, because we're trying to set the context about what the journey should be like and can be like. Nothing happens too quickly, and it all really happens at the client's own pace. My job as a coach is to watch for opportunity. When the client has an opportunity and a willingness to let go of something, we tackle that with the accountability chart, right? If people are sitting in multiple seats, hey, is this the right time to maybe let go of that additional seat CEO that you're sitting in, or visionary you're sitting in, so that you can truly focus on your unique ability, which is being the leader this company needs and deserves.
Adam, you'd mentioned change, right? And by definition, I think improving, scaling, becoming more profitable, generating more revenue, by definition, that includes change. But as you also pointed out, change is scary. Change is the unknown, and change is a key ingredient for conflict. How How do you coach companies through that? Because it can be scary. The whole, I would imagine the reason that executives would bring you in to work with their organization, by definition, it's going to be bringing in change, bring in conflict, bring in uncertainty. And if it's not managed correctly, it could go, things could go south.
They can go south, they can go sideways, that's for sure. So our big thing is that we don't want to run away from conflict. We can. Our business truly requires it, but our conflict needs to be healthy. So throughout my time with my clients, I'm teaching them how to be a healthy leadership team, which involves being open and honest with each other. And being what we call like great parents, right? Because your employees at some level are like your children, right? They're looking for guidance. They're looking for support. They want to believe in the overall enterprise. So we're constantly working with our teams on getting better and better at that right kind of conflict. And we're also measuring, doing organizational checkups along the way to see how they're progressing with that.
Yeah, I love how you said that, because conflict, I think, it's good. It's inevitable. But the real question is it constructive or is it destructive and debilitating? And if it's
Right.
destructive and debilitating, we all know where those routes go. Nowhere good. But change will bring in conflict. But the five dysfunctions of a team, one of my favorite books, Patrick Lencioni, it's just know that it's inevitable. But really, that's where trust building comes from, relationship building, buy-in, all of those things come from it. So just, I'd love to impress upon executives out there that conflict is good, but it has to be productive and constructive and kind of nurtured through, as you point out. Those are great points. Adam, I believe that you've done some work in working in family businesses. My dad and his father built a dump trucking and excavating company in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and he eventually retired from it. Family business, brothers in the business. Had some interesting dynamics that I got some front row seat lessons as a kid growing up. I'd love to just kind of pick your brain a little bit, just kind of the difference, compare contrast between family run businesses versus the alternative.
Well, so family businesses, obviously, there's a whole other dynamic involved, right? And it starts really with who's in and who's out of the actual business, right? So who's in might mean a couple of things. It might mean literally who from the family is working in the family business. And then secondly, who's in is like capital I, capital N, right? So who's in the family business just kind of hanging out, having fun, showing up, leaving when they want? And who's in to perpetuate this family and this legacy for the next generation, right? So it's always really important to make sure there's right people in the right seats, irrespective of family. And know who is in the working of the business, who is just an owner in the business, right? Separate the owner's spots from the active members of the family that are running the business. And not everyone in the family also needs to be on the leadership team just by virtue of their seniority or by virtue that they're family. So it's a lot of the issues really fall on the people side and getting the right people in the right seats for the business.
I imagine that, well, and just speaking from personal experience, that it adds a whole layer of complexity. Just very interesting dynamics. Just having family members involved in that, and just makes communications and leadership, I think, all the more important in those situations. Adam, there's a ton of different baby boomers out there that are looking to transition into full retirement, sell their businesses, hand it off, whatever the case may be, kind of doing that exit piece. Interested just to kind of pick your brain a little bit and see what recommendations you might have, or just what you're seeing in the marketplace for companies. Obviously, I'm a huge, like I mentioned, right, huge believer in EOS, and if somebody's looking to sell their business, they certainly want a business that operates like a machine. They want to sell a machine. So it definitely makes sense to work with EOS and get that underway. But what are you seeing on the whole exit planning piece? I know this is a really big area that's growing recently.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting with a business owner yesterday, insurance company, and he's put together a buy-sell agreement to sell this business to one of his employees, and really all comes down to what you want, right? Again, similar to the family business, do you want to perpetuate this business? Do you want it to continue? How do you want your employees to be protected or treated, right? So it's always safer to kind of keep it in the family, right? If we sell that business, let's sell it to our employees. Let's do an ESOP or a management buyout or some other transactions similar to that. There are many different options out there. Oftentimes, if you have a sizable business, that's not going to be the most financially lucrative way to go. But maybe that's not important. Maybe your employees are a higher priority to you than maximizing every last dollar out of the business. Because when you sell to private equity and they take controlling ownership, there's different firms out there, but ultimately all bets are off in terms of what that's going to look like. You said, and I think correctly, that you want to start thinking about, as you're moving in that direction, you want to give yourself some time, 3 years, 5 years. Some people will say more years to prepare. That's about the team. That's about having a business that can run without you, which system like EOS can help with that. Because of the processes we put in place and the documentation we have and the institutional knowledge and the training that you get and then you train your employees on. So, really just depends what you want. And, that's the biggest thing. I would say 2 main things: figure out what you want and get started as soon as you can in the planning process.
Adam, outside of EOS and that great methodology, what's some other books or thought leaders or business growth processes? What are some of those other resources that you might recommend for business leaders to check out or expose themselves to?
Well, one thing so I also get coaching. So I'm a coach, but I believe firmly in coaching. So some coaching I got this year is on something called Positive Intelligence, PQ. Really, really great system. And it really boils down to learning more and more about yourself and what your saboteurs are, what's holding you back from becoming your best self. And how do you identify those saboteurs and minimize them, control them, so that you're acting mostly in sage mode in your best self. So I really love that. That's one thing that I'm really in now and involved with it at the moment. Another great book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Talk about some of the little things you can do that make a big difference. I love the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, which is really one of the pioneers in behavioral psychology and how the way we think really impacts so many aspects of our relationships, our performance, and everything about our life.
I love that, man. It's like You used to always say attitude is everything. And I think I picked that up from the Marines, but really it's about what's between your ears. I mean, your mindset, and that is so, so critical, I think. So I love that. I'm going to do some more digging into PQ. That sounds super interesting. Adam, one last question for you before we let you run off. And I used to ask this years ago, but I'm thinking about bringing it back because it was so insightful. I want you to talk to your 21-year-old self. What kind of advice would you give to Adam as a 21-year-old, knowing what you know now?
I love that question. And I'm gonna start by going back to the attitude. Attitude is altitude. So if you have a great attitude about what you do and approach every endeavor that you have with curiosity and desire to improve and hard work. By the way, thank you for your service. I mean, that's one of the defining characteristics of people in the military. They get up every day, boys and girls, put their big boy pants on and go to work, right? And it starts really with that. And I did have that at age 21. I would say that my main advice to my 21-year-old self and any 21-year-old out there, or my 18-year-old daughter, is just go out and get the experiences that you can get to learn and grow. That's the most important thing. Don't try and get every I dotted and T crossed. Go for challenge, and go to places where you can find mentors and you can find people that you're going to learn from. That's much more important than the short term, how much you're being paid at that job or things like that. The best investment you can make is in yourself.
100%. Man, I love that. And fortunately, coming out of high school, I got that advice, the importance of mentors. I knew I wanted to be in business, whether it's in corporations or running my own. I knew I wanted to be in business, and it was impressed upon me very early, the importance of mentors. And I was lucky enough to have some very successful and very giving mentors. And man, I couldn't agree with that anymore. The first few years when you're out there, just invest in yourself and build the foundation. Don't go chase the dollar, chase the knowledge, because in the end, it's like compound interest.
Beautiful. Well said. Yeah.
It will pay off in the end, in my humble opinion. Well, Adam, man, the mic is yours. I want to give you the last couple of minutes to chat. How can people find you? What's maybe some things that's on your mind that you'd love to impress upon folks before we sign off?
Sure. Definitely feel free to reach out to me at adam.kaplan@eosworldwide.com or via LinkedIn, last name Kaplan. The other thing I want to say is right now, some people are feeling pretty uncertain, right? And some people, and you might be feeling pretty scared. And what I want to impart is that most of the great companies that we know today have been started during recession. Amazon, Google, that's really when they started or when they grow precipitously. So this is a great time to find talent, to clean up your processes, to do the things that you need to do to emerge stronger. So continue to invest in yourself, continue to invest in your business. There's two modes we can ever operate in: fear or love. Choose love, lean into it, clean up your business, and you'll be much stronger when the economy turns and we're in growth mode.
Great advice. Adam, thank you so much for your time. Man, it's great to spend some more time with you today.
Thank you, Mark. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Partnernomics Show. Don't forget to subscribe to get the newest episodes at thepartnernomicsshow.com.